All right, guys. Welcome to this live training, guys. My name is Gam Tekla. I'm founder of Dividend Shift. So, had a little bit of technical difficulties. That's how you know it's live. It is literally, I got some YouTube playing right now at the same time, but it's 8:09 p.m. Eastern time, guys. Right. So, if this is your first time attending one of these live trainings, it's going to be pretty entertaining. You're going to get educated. You're going to figure out exactly what you need to do to launch this business specifically. But what I want you to do is comment live below, comment live. And the reason why is, number one, you get tagged on this YouTube video also, so you actually get a copy of it later. But the other thing is there's some engagement. I want to see your guys' comments. I want to see where you guys are watching this from, etc. Right? And if you're watching the replay, and I don't know if I'm going to send this out, but we're just going to answer this also. If you're watching the replay, what I want you to do is comment replay below. Comment replay, so that way I know on the back end I can answer all your questions, provide you with the resources you need, and just make sure you're successful with starting this actual business. All right. So with that being said, guys, all right, let's start with this. So it's going to be a pretty good training. I'm going to break down the basics of this business, exactly what you need to get this up and running. And then from there, obviously, like the technical difficulties and all that good stuff we run into. But essentially, everything you need to know to be successful with this. And again, if you're watching this live, you just tuned in, we had some email issues. So the link never went out. I think it said like 24-hour reminder or something. And it was just some craziness, guys. But we roll with it and we make it happen, guys. All right. So for today's training, I'm super excited. We're going to be breaking down some pretty good stuff. I know it works because I just got done with a client mastermind call and guys are like killing it with that. So knowing that, I know exactly when you're watching this, you're going to be extremely successful with this business also, guys. All right. So let me do this. I'm actually going to do a share screen just to pop this bad boy open right now. And then let's go from there. Perfect. Right. So this is going to be a pretty special training, guys. I call it the digital payment revolution. And the reason why I bring this up is because, just to be frank, I don't think anyone is paying attention to this opportunity. So what I want to do is provide you with all the resources for you to be able to do this on your own. And if you want to work with us, awesome, that's an option. But realistically, I just want you to be successful with this business, right? So again, if this is your first time attending and you're watching this live, make sure you comment live, comment the city and state you are watching this from. And if it's going to be a replay, whether it's 10 minutes from now, 30 minutes from now, maybe get a text message, no problem whatsoever. What I want you to do is comment below so that way you can get your questions answered too, right? So let's go over today's agenda. We're going to go over a few different things. Basically, what I want to cover is what I call the secret 7-day plan. And what that means is you can follow these things, and it's Tuesday, December 9th. That means on Tuesday, December 5th, 16th, you'd be able to be up and running with this business if you follow this step-by-step plan, right? And then we're going to go over what I call the $5,000 a month plan, right? This is the location shortcut. What that means is essentially what you need to do to hit 5 figures in consistent recurring revenue very quickly starting in 2026. And then from them, of course, right, we start getting some residual income. Let's be realistic. Sometimes we get a little lazy. So we're going to talk about going over things on autopilot. All right. So I got a question for you. Who's ready? Who's ready to get the breakdown exactly what you need to do to be successful with this business? I want you to comment 2025 below. All right. Only if you're ready. If you're not, no worries. You can jump off the stream. But ultimately, I just want to see who's actually ready to start this, be up and running, because from the other success stories I've been seeing over the course of the last few years, I'm super excited to see like who's going to be the next person that's going to be up and running with this business. All right. Now, with that being said, guys, I got to break some stuff down, right? Before we even get started. Let's talk about seasons, right? And we're going to talk about seasons. We're not talking about seasoning for, the Christmas, Thanksgiving parties. No, we're going to talk about 2 seasons that lead to your success, right? And this is what I call the season of learning. And this is what I also call it the season of earning. And what I mean by that is these are broken down into 2 sections. And essentially, I got this from, as you know, I came from law enforcement, a few different things, but I really had to break down how I went from 0 to 8 figures. And I was able to really break it down into these 2 concepts right now. So if you get anything out of this, I would really recommend you write this down because this holds true to this day as we scale our business, right? So let's talk about the season of learning, right? So to give you guys a little background, my name is Gam Tekla. I'm the founder of Dividend Shift. Before that, I say I'm a blue collar to business or blue collar to 8-figure entrepreneur. And it wasn't always like this. I wasn't in this position I'm in, living abroad, running an office abroad, have team members overseas. Here's the thing. It took a little over $300,000 in losses just to get to this point. And you're probably thinking like, man, what did you invest in? And it's actually It's the funniest things, but it's the things that really like bite you in the butt, guys, right? So just give you a little bit of background when we start talking about the seasonal learning. I joined the Marines at the age of 18. And the reason why was because I didn't really believe in this, the typical American dream, go to college, get debt, get a house, work a job. It just didn't really make sense to me. And I'm sure a lot of you guys in that same boat right now are like, man, I think the American dream has really changed the actual end zone of what that is. So after getting out of the Marine Corps, got into some dead end jobs. Infantry doesn't really translate into transferable skills. So, me working dead end jobs, and I'm sure some of you guys have been in the same position. So I ended up spiraling out of debt. I don't even know how this started. But I was over $75,000 in credit card debt. And, I look back and I say, wait a second, like, how did that even start? What was the first purchase? But it just kept going worse and worse and worse until finally I had a reset. It got to the point where I said, hey, you know what? I can't afford my rent. I can't afford expenses. My income's not covering the bills. Like, something's got to change. So I decided to sleep in my car for a few months. And I'm going to say that was probably one of the lowest points in my life. But you fast forward and you start realizing some things worked out. So I'm thinking, this can't get worse. Like this cannot get worse. And I'm sure some of you guys have said the exact same thing. And it didn't. So I met a cop. So the reason I bring this up is because I meet this cop randomly. It was almost like a spotlight was shining on him, and I just never spoke to police officers in the past. This is back in 2012, 2013. And so I don't know why. Somehow, some way, I was attracted to this one person, started chatting with them, and started bringing up some ideas. So the reason I say this is what I call like the life lessons I've gotten into scaling a business and getting into passive income is this. Lesson number one is you're only one relationship away from that next step. So brings up this one question to me that blew my mind. He says, why don't you just become a cop? I'm thinking to myself, yeah, right? Really? Me, a police officer, if you knew my past, there's no way I'm going to do this. So you fast forward a few months later, I'm in the same position, same shitty job, you know how it goes. And then that line hit me. So I got to the point, I figured, you know what? Why not? Lesson number two, sometimes you have to require saying F it. Right. And there's a saying in business, your success is directly proportional to how many times you say fuck it. Right. And, it's not going to be PG-13, but this is truly one of the things I believe in, especially in business, because it's all about speed. So decided to apply to every department I could think of, which is a cardinal sin, but I kept getting denied left and right. Oh, you're too young. You just came out of the military. You got this. There's always these reasons, right? Until finally I got hired in Oakland, California. And if any of you guys know Oakland, California, it's the robbery capital of the nation. There's a decent amount of things that happen over there. It's fun, but it's a little bit dangerous. So $90K salary starting out. This is over 10 years ago. So you're probably thinking like things are good, right? Like life's going to be good, happily ever after, get the house. But I basically lost my job. So in law enforcement, you have to go to the police academy. It's about 6 months long. And if you fail at anything, especially back then, like you're out. So the stupidest test, literally 6 months in, fail it, I'm about to lose my job. But I get a last chance. And this leads to lesson number three, timing. In hindsight, I realized when it comes down to it, sometimes it's just not the right thing for something. And in hindsight, if I had passed through, got hired, I'd probably be fired, probably in jail, whatever it is, guys, right? So I had to start all over, restart the police academy, 6 months over, embarrassed, losing self-confidence. You know how it is. But how many of you guys have actually been in one of those situations? Been in those situations where you're like, I just got to start over. I want you to comment timing below, comment timing. And the reason why I bring this up is because sometimes it's just about the timing when you're launching this. So we fast forward a bit, full-time cop in Oakland, California. You see me young, still with bald hair, same hair on the eyebrows. But I decided I was just going to go all in. Worked every single day. You're talking about 90 to about 100 something hours a week because it's like, I just got to make this happen. I lived in a basement in the hood. So as you can imagine, literally, I arrest a guy for a shooting. The next day I see their cousin at the liquor store next to my house. Just hilarious. But my goal was this. It was very clear. I was like, I got to save every single penny to get out of this debt. So I worked every single day for 3 months straight until the best day happened. My net worth hit zero. You're probably thinking like, how's that your best day? But I owed nothing. Paid off on my credit cards, personal loans, all the financial troubles that you can think of, finally covered it to the point I was at zero. So I continued. I said, hey, you know what? I don't want to stop and all of a sudden this changes everything. I just continue to live in the hood, as they say, or in this, not the best area. And I just had the save mentality. But here's the thing. I always had like this tinkling, this needle that kept prodding me. And I was like, I knew the 9 to 5 wasn't enough. This income was like, this doesn't make sense. I can't keep doing this. So I started investing in all these different businesses. I tried an online, e-commerce store, didn't work out because timing wise, I wasn't that creative. Did some car rentals, tried to do the day trading, tried to get real estate, opened a retail storefront in San Francisco, which was really bad timing, right? I lost over $50,000 in that. So as you can imagine, you start getting hit. You feel like Rocky Balboa, left, right. And all of a sudden you're like, man, this is just not working. So the motivation started to fade. I mean, to be frank, I was literally on the verge of quitting. I was like, fuck this. This is not for me, right? I'm just going to do the 9 to 5, work my 45 years and just figure it out, right? But this is lesson number 4. Don't be afraid to pivot quickly. Sometimes it's a little scary, right? You're thinking like, man, things not working out. I'm already like 10 years in or whatever, but you can't be afraid to pivot. How many of you guys have been in a similar situation? Like nothing seems to work. Well, here's the thing. This is the one thing I've learned in business and, going through the roller coaster rides. Motivation is not enough. Motivation alone is not enough. You have to have a mission because to this day, sometimes you wake up and you're just demotivated. You don't want to wake up. You don't want to talk to anybody. But here's the thing. When you have an actual mission, that's when things start to change. So if you have a clear mission as to why you are generating the income you're generating, whether it's your family, whether it's getting a Lamborghini, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Don't let anybody judge you. I want you to comment mission below. So let's talk about what I call the season of earning. And this is the good part. This is what everyone was waiting for because let's be realistic. I'm very impatient. So I like to generate income as fast as possible. Sometimes, it bites me in the butt, but here's the thing. At this point, I started investing in residual income sources. And you're probably wondering like, what are you talking about? Well, really, I realized I'm getting bamboozled. I got the 17-year-old on the balcony on an advertisement saying, you're going to be a millionaire, holding like the selfie and like, fall for that and a few other things. And I said, okay, something's got to give. So working patrol, run into this guy up in the Oakland Hills. And if you guys know, like, the city, you can have a $5 million home and you can have like a $50,000 home. It's definitely contrasting environment. So tired with him. And I thought to myself, I was like, hey, it's a weekday. This guy's relaxed. This guy's drinking his coffee, as chill as can be. I'm like, hey, man, what do you do? I'm thinking he's like a lawyer or something like that. He says, yeah, I just have some boring businesses. Got a liquor store, got a parking lot, a few laundromats, etc. And I'm thinking to myself, this kind of blew my mind. I thought I had to start the next Apple, to start the next Google, to start the next Amazon to actually get ahead. And this guy's just doing these boring businesses that I don't even frequent. So at this point, I start investing into residual income sources because I thought to myself, like, what am I doing? I just need to focus on simple ideas that require minimal work. And it's not because I'm lazy, but I just need to actually be able to leverage my time the most efficient way possible. So you fast forward, ignore the white noise because there's always these new opportunities that pop up. You know exactly what I'm talking about. And you fast forward 8 years later. And you're probably thinking like, man, I thought it was overnight. This is not overnight, guys. It was over the course of a decade, right? But when you fast forward and all of a sudden you're able to quit your $200K a year police career, I've helped thousands start boring businesses across different industries, scaled to 8-figure companies. That means $10 million or more. Obviously quit law enforcement with a lot liquid. And now here we are launching and scaling the first digital payment business for entrepreneurs. So let's talk about why this even matters. The reason I say this is because your actions today will begin your next chapter. And the reason I say this is because you can be a seasoned investor. You can be a brand new 9 to 5 entrepreneur. You can be a single mom at home. It doesn't matter. Essentially, what you do today will begin the next chapter of whatever entrepreneurship journey you do. And if you've been experienced in business, you know the exact same thing I'm talking about. So if you're ready for that season of earning, what I want you to do is comment now. Comment now. Because number one, it's accountability, keeps you engaged. But let's just be realistic. Sometimes we just have to hold that mirror up to say, okay, now's the time for me to actually be successful. So let's talk about what I call the 7-day startup basics. And what I mean by this is, we always emphasize speed, especially in business. Like you want to be as fast as possible. So the reason I say this specifically is because you can start this business and be up and running in a week, right? Are there nuances or things you need to do? Yes. But if you're serious, you're like, I really want to get this thing up and running. I have nothing else to focus on. You can be up and running within a week, no problem. So let's get on the same page, right? Because I get this question all the time. Let me make this a little bigger for you guys. Boom. So I get this question all the time, guys, right? And the question is, it's like, hey, what are we even talking about here, right? So let's keep this very simple. We are talking about digital payment processing. So take it a little step back. Think about every business you go to that they have a device just like this, right? And you're going to have a credit card, right? Just like this, put it in, accept the payment, right? Well, that's like the old school method. Even though the fact that it has like a keyboard on it, you're like, man, it's 2025 yet. I'm like, why does it have a keyboard? So that is like the established method. You go to businesses, accept credit cards, whatever, right? Well, the difference is what we're talking about now is focusing on placing devices like this at businesses already having credit card processing. So what ends up happening is the customer is going to decide to pay in crypto, right? Real simple. The customer is going to choose what crypto they want to pay in. There's multiple options. So if you're like XRP Army or whatever it is, there's different options available. The merchant is actually going to get paid in cash. And the way that happens is they're going to enter in the amount. It might be like $500 for like, mobile car wash, $57 plus a tip for a haircut, $34.99 for like a vehicle deposit, $147 plus a 20% tip for art basil, whatever. Now, the customer is going to scan a QR code. Very simple, just like they're transferring any crypto. It's going to send it from their wallet. The merchant is going to receive the cash equivalent. So if they paid $100, they get $100 worth of US dollars. Now, you earn a percentage of each transaction, lifetime profit, right? We call this residuals. And the reason this matters is because this is the exact same method I was talking about with simplicity and just earning off of a basic business. So the idea is simple. That's your revenue model. You partner with more and more locations, even including e-com business. Think about like cigars, online, peptides, paramedical tattoos, whatever you want. But essentially, you're able to partner with more and more businesses, help them accept crypto payments because they're not doing this already. You earn a percentage off each business and you get a book of business. It's very, very simple. So it requires minimal time. There's no competition, not yet. It's coming up. But you're able to scale this very, very quickly. But here's the thing. Why does this even matter? So the way you want to think about this is we are literally stealing the bank's existing model. So think of JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, et cetera. This is a $100 billion plus industry with payment processing. Now, the way you want to think about this is every time somebody goes to one of these businesses that have credit cards already, there's like a 3 to 4% charge that's passed on to either the business owner or the customer, depending on the business. And then from there, that split happens like this. Very simple numbers. There's multiple people, usually like an agent, an ISO, a payment acquirer, a sponsoring bank, like all these different levels of people making money, right? But just to break down some simple math, $10,000 a month, you're making about like $300 a month. If it's $50,000 a month, like a normal restaurant, you're looking at $1,500 a month. And if it's $100,000 a month, you're usually looking at close to like $3,000, right? Somehow, some way, somebody is profiting off of that payment that already exists. So that entire industry, like I mentioned, is literally over $100 billion in profit in just fees alone. That's it. Just the movement of money. It's craziness and how much profit's being made. So why are we bringing this up? Well, that entire industry, it's great. It's an opportunity, but it is established already. It's been around for decades. It's very competitive. There's long-term relationships. So there's a shift happening. And the shift is this. Big companies are starting to realize like, hey, people want to pay in crypto and no one's offering this yet. So you might see some logos you recognize, like Stripe, Square, PayPal, Coinbase, JP Morgan, PNC Bank, etc. And the reason why is because there's a massive investment into crypto payment infrastructure. And that's just on the top level. You're talking about these massive companies. And then on top of that, you start looking at the federal government. And, unfortunately, there's some incentives. People like to, get into politics, make some money, whatever. But they're pushing this. The Federal Reserve, the president, the presidency, et cetera. You start realizing why we're changing directions. So if you want to talk about some stats, we'll break some down. Global volume, 10.7 trillion. This gets boring, guys. I don't really like stats. I'm going to be frank. Small business adoption is supposed to be joining 17 to 22% year over year, meaning that every single year there should be more. It's exploding right now. This was old stats, but you start realizing like, wow, all of a sudden that forest fire starts to happen. And then based on a survey, 68% of small businesses want these alternative payments. So you got to ask yourself, well, what's the problem? The problem is very simple. Merchants are unaware. Go to your local business. Go to your local business and ask, why don't you accept crypto payments? And you're going to get one of a few answers. I didn't know. Who pays in crypto? I didn't know, etc. Which means this is a massive opportunity for you. So let's break down the beginner steps of exactly how this business works and how you can structure it on your own if you like to. But before we start, I got a question for you. Who here has not been to a business that accepts crypto? I want you to comment me. If it's below 5, because you might have went to 1, right? But if you've been to less than 5 businesses that accept crypto, I want to comment me. I just have an idea already, but let me just see what we got. All right. And I'm seeing it on the webinar and the YouTube. So a few. All right. So the reason why I bring this up is you got to ask yourself this. Why did that even stand out to you? The reason why is because it's extremely rare. Think about it. How many businesses have you been to? How many gas stations, barbershops, liquor stores, nail salons have been to? It's extremely rare. So it stands out to you, which means, again, it's an opportunity. So let's talk about the foundations of exactly what you need to actually get this business up and running, right? So I call these the pillars of the business, but the foundational steps, very simple, right? Obviously, the model is you partner with merchants, help them accept crypto, you earn residual income, right? So the first things you need, obviously, is going to be the business formation and the bank. And the way you want to look at this is, obviously, you want some type of entity to protect yourself. I'm literally, I'm based in Colombia, filing, a local company over here, which is, totally different. But the reason why is we want to protect your assets, because as you start profiting more and more, maybe get some business cards, maybe get some business loans, some more assets, people decide to sue you. It is what it is, right? Once they know you have money, we're in those cultures where if the coffee is too cold, all of a sudden you're going to sue. And then from there, we want to get a business bank account. Reason why is because, number one, separate your finances, tax benefits, especially in 2025 right now, before 2026, you can benefit off of this. But you also want to show how much income you're making. So the bank says, oh, wow, Chris, Melissa, Ilona, whatever, you guys are actually generating a decent amount of income. We have all these things that are available for you just because we want you to grow. You're incentivized. So the first step is forming that foundation, which is the business and that actual bank account. Then from there, what we want to do is partner with a processor. So to break this down very simple, essentially what you want to do is partner with a backend processor. What they're going to do is convert that crypto into cash. So if it's on a traditional merchant side, what do? They say, hey, you have a credit card. We're going to accept the payment. We'll settle it. And then we'll send the money to the actual merchant. Well, on the crypto side, very simple. They decide to pay in crypto. Then that money gets converted into cash. That cash gets transferred into the merchant's bank account. Very simple. And if they want to accept it directly in crypto, they can do that too. But usually the business owners are going to stick to cash, right? So we want to find a partner we can partner with where they're going to actually have 24/7 support, different cryptos. They actually can customize deals for you, which is a really big thing. You're going to start seeing more pop up, but they're really rigid. And you realize, oh, that's why they're not successful. And then from there, what we want to do is find our locations, because ultimately, when you think about it, what's the business model? You make money off the customers paying. So we want to have a legitimate service or a process that I follow or you follow that helps you find the locations. After that, once you start deciding, hey, we're going to start looking for locations to partner with, then we start looking at the equipment we provide. So a few different options, right? I have if you see my office, I have lots of different devices, et cetera. And the reason why is because you want to have customized options, because think of all the different businesses you've been to. They all have different requirements. You want to make sure you have all that, but you also want to make sure you know how to structure the deal, because let's be realistic. The worst thing that can happen is you sign up a business, they're up and running, and you realize, whoa, I could have made 20% more, right? Which could cover that car payment, cover the insurance, the daughter's recitals, whatever it is. But we want to be able to structure that deal appropriately. And then from there, we focus on scaling, right? Because let's be realistic. This is not going to be the first location. It's not going to be the only business you're a part of. Essentially, you want to think about it like this. We're in the game of working with more and more businesses. So how do we do that? There's two main options. We do it in person or we scale digitally, right? And I like to talk about both, which I'm going to break down in a second. So very simply put, we want to form our business. We want to get a business bank account. We want to have a back-end processor to work with. We want to start finding locations, get the right equipment, get the right offers, and then we want to start scaling our actual business. Super simple. Like I mentioned, you can use this to be up and running in 7 days. So what I want to talk about is what I call the 5K a month location strategy, right? And so, just to give you guys a little bit of background, obviously, like I mentioned, I've helped thousands of people build their boring businesses. And what typically ends up happening is it's very similar, whether it's a vending machine, traditional ATM, crypto ATMs, normal credit card processing across thousands. You start realizing it's very similar. You're working with merchants, you call them, you get a hold of them. You obviously got to structure the deal appropriately. It's semi-passive or passive. It's very, very, very similar, right? So why do I bring this up? Well, let's be realistic. We're not here to make $100 a month. We're not here to make $1,000 a month. We're here to generate serious revenue. And again, 5K a month back then was a lot to me. Now it still is, but this is serious, consistent income that you can actually use to cover bills. You can use to reinvest. Maybe you want to day trade, whatever you want to do, or it covers your Lambo payment. It doesn't matter, but we're focused on consistent residual income. So the way I look at this is a step-by-step formula, plus there's some rules that we like to follow to be as profitable as possible, okay? So step one is obviously going to be to build the foundations. So like I mentioned, you want to form that business, get that EN, get the business bank account. And the reason why is because what ends up happening is this rapidly scales. So you work with one business owner, they say, hey, Chris, I got 3 other businesses you can work with. And as you start quickly scaling this, the holidays pop up. Now it's January and you're like, oh crap, I forgot to do X, Y, and Z. And it bites you in the butt when you're at like location 6 or 7, right? It doesn't seem like a big deal, but I've learned the hard way. We always want to build the foundations because then we can operate faster and faster and faster. And we're not worried about things messing up because the foundation is built correctly. And then from there, what we want to do is actually target the hottest businesses first, all right? And the reason I bring this up is because you can work with any business, go to a gas station, burger spot, etc. But if I were to tell you you could work with the most profitable first, what would you choose? Would you work with Abdul or Chris or whatever at some random store, or would you target these businesses first? Let's be realistic. I would choose the latter, which is getting these businesses. And then from there, what I like to do is actually build a referral network. So this is not really talked about as much. I think I've heard some people talk about this because usually a lot of people are like, willing and dealing, running and gunning. But the way you want to think about this is actually really simple. What you're doing is actually working with select people to say, hey, as you get more and more businesses that reach out to you, just refer them my way. It'll kick you back a percentage, flat fee, whatever. So think about that business banker when you set up the bank account. Think about the CPA that actually works with all these businesses. Think about the roofer that does all the commercial buildings. These are all people that say, oh yeah, I know those business owners, and they start referring them over to you. So again, I'm not talking about the end all be all for running this business, but what I am talking about is the most efficient way because let's be realistic. Christmas is coming up. The end of the year, the last chance you can write off some deductions is coming up. So I don't know about you, but I'd rather start generating income as soon as possible before January hits. From there, we'd like to expand digitally. So I'm a big proponent of this, obviously being in the marketing space for a little while. But the way you want to think about this is, do you want to focus on like brute force or do you want to focus on efficiency? I don't know about you, but I'd rather focus on efficiency. And what I mean by that is ultimately the way you want to think about this is you can go to all these businesses door to door to door to door, but how much time do you really have? Versus if you're able to show yourself digitally and people reach out to you, which is the stage we're at now. Merchants will just say, whoa, crypto payments. Tell me more. And they just start applying. They start signing up with you. And you're like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm delayed, but I just can't get you signed up. We're backed up. So if you'd like something like that, what I want you to comment is live below. Comment live, just so I know you're awake, because I want to break down something pretty special in a few minutes, right? But essentially, the way you want to think about this, like I said, is you want to expand digitally because, again, we're in the internet age, right? If you don't have an online presence, if they can't look you up, no one's going to want to do business with you because they don't know for sure, right? It's not the yellow pages or the white pages anymore, guys. So from there, like I mentioned, as we're expanding digitally, we want to build your brand. So the way you want to think about this is actually very simple. I'm not saying for you to be a big influencer, right? I'm an introvert. I hate being on camera. I hate social media, etc. But sometimes you just got to do what you got to do, right? It comes from the Marine Corps mentality. But the way you want to think about this is you want to build your brand online, right? Think about big brands right? When you go into a store and you say, I want a soda, if you're still drinking soda, you get a Coca-Cola, Pepsi, two of the most famous brands, right? If you think of candy, what do you think? See's Candy. You think of ice cream, Baskin Robbins, 32 flavors, right? Well, that's like the big things. Now start looking at 2025 going on to 2026. You start looking at guys like, I Show Speed, Mr. Beast, etc. People do business with them just to do business with them. That's it. It's not because they're special or anything. It's because they like their brand. So imagine you're able to attract the right people. Maybe it's local merchants in your neighborhood because they know about taxes or whatever. So now you start really quickly acquiring merchants and businesses faster and faster and faster because between you and whatever other service, they want to work with you. It's not just them nickel and diming, literally using a calculator, save 0.001%. They're saying, you know what? I don't care what comes up. I want to work with you and your brand specifically, right? So that's going to be step number 5 to getting to these fast locations is building your brand. Now, I got a question for you, right? I'm going to send this right after. My sister will probably send it. Who wants a location targeting list? I actually just built this. Really simple. I say, hey, you know what? What's the fastest way I can do this on my phone? I was like, hey, I would need a location list just to go and attack it. I want you to comment location below. Comment location. And if you're watching this live, you'll get a copy. If you are watching the replay, because I may email this, we'll try to send you a copy via email or text message right after this, right? So, knowing what it is like to actually scale the business, let's talk about setting this up on autopilot. And again, the reason I bring this up is because usually the reason I'm attracted to businesses is because they require less work. I'm not looking to build the next Apple or Amazon. That's just not me, right? There's some other founders that want to sleep on the floor with sleeping bags and all that. been there, done that with the Marine Corps. I'd rather focus on consistent income and having a good life with my family. So I say this because typically what we want to do is set this up on autopilot, meaning that it's constantly growing without us. So let's break this down exactly how you set this up. First of all, there's a few principles to follow, right? When you're in business, you start realizing like, okay, it's not just you just figure things out all the time. Sometimes you have principles that drive those decisions, and that's how you're able to actually grow this thing. So principle number one is this is long-term. I want you to think about this for a second. So when I say this is long-term, this is what I'm referring to. A lot of people have this get rich quick mentality. I've seen this all the time. Like, hey, Ganna, man, I want to launch this business and make $100,000 a month. I'm like, really? Okay. It's possible, but let's bring things back down to reality. What other business can you get into right now that's going to make you $100,000 a month? I can do e-commerce. Okay. But how much are you profiting? Maybe like $1,000 after expenses. So the reason I say this is because in business, what you have to understand is, hey, this is a long-term game, right? And when I say long-term, I'm not thinking 50 years, but let's be realistic. It's not going to be overnight. So as you're building up those residuals, imagine you get your first location making you $200 a month. Next one, 400, right? Now we're at 600. The next one, we're at another 400. So now we're at $1,000 a month. Another banger location, online e-commerce, making you $800. So now 1,800. So you start seeing how this chisels away at the things that are expenses, whether it's your insurance, your light bill, your solar bill, whatever, until you start breaking into that zero, meaning that your residual income covers your expenses. So now everything else above that is house money. So whether you're working your 9 to 5, all that income is just going into your savings. Whether you start getting additional locations, you start realizing why this compounding effect happens. Now you start seeing that bank account increase in zeros and commas, and you're trying to figure out, well, what do I do with this extra money? So the idea is that this is a long-term game, so you can keep having this compounding effect, a snowball, to create more and more residual income. Next principle, this is huge. Man, time is always better than money. I'm telling you right now, some people say, I'll take the $1 million, et cetera. I will always choose time. And the reason why is because you can always keep scaling this business, but you can't get your time back. So the way I always look at this is I like to automate and I like to outsource a lot of the things I'm not going to do. And I thought because I'm lazy, but I realized that I'd rather focus on needle moving activities. That needle moving activity might be spending time with my 84-year-old dad, right? But when it comes down to it, you start realizing like, hey, you shouldn't be working like a dog all the time. So in this business, you want to work smarter, not harder. So I literally will have on my left is a whiteboard over here. I have a notepad right here. I have my iPad. I have all these different ways. And I'm constantly trying to figure out what is taking my time and seeing how I can throw money at it. So this is kind of counterintuitive. Sometimes when you're still in a 9 to 5 mentality, you're like, no, I got to save, expend. But what we start realizing is you start asking, hey, not how much it's going to cost me, but how much can I invest to double or triple that? And usually it comes down to saying, how can I buy back my time, have somebody else do it for me, empower them, and we all make money together. And then from there, this is like, I live and breathe by this. If you work with me, you understand I value this like crazy. And a lot of it came from the Marine Corps. Obviously, I had the honor of being a part of a really special unit. And being in law enforcement, being a police sergeant, having, guys rely on me, being able to empower them and work with them, your relationship is always better than short-term profit. How many of you guys know somebody like that, where you go to the restaurant, you're like, oh man, here we go. This guy's ordering all the appetizers, and the moment the check comes, he's going to the restaurant, right? So the reason I say this is because ultimately, with these business owners you're working with, don't burn them, right? I see this all the time, like, oh yeah, again, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. I'm like, dude, you're screwing them. Just to get an extra $100, who cares? And then what ends up happening is they say, hey, again, I sign up the business. I listen to what you said. And then from there, that business owner says, hey, Chris, do you know anybody that could work with this guy in Texas? Like, what do you mean? It's like, well, he has 4 more smoke shops. He liked what I'm doing. I don't know who to refer him to. So all of a sudden you realize because you didn't win that business relationship, now they actually want to refer business to you. So this is huge, guys. The reason I say this is because this is a long-term vision in this industry. As much as this is a big blue ocean, you're going to sign up a lot of businesses. Do not screw them over because they're going to refer you other business. That might be something like, hey, do you know anybody who does credit card processing? And we help you out. Now you're double dipping at the same location. So it's always relationships over short-term profit. And then from there, this is a simple concept is you want to prove it works. So it's a binary yes, no, it does work. Then we want to go over quantity. Then we quickly want to build a team. So when I was launching this company, right, had some friends in the past, right, a lot of naysayers. And it was actually like really surprising. They were like, oh, I don't know, man, this and that and this. I said, really, man? And then what I realized was no one has the confidence to just be uncomfortable, be in the shadows, and not know if something's going to work. Luckily for you guys, obviously, I've taken the steps. We set up the systems. You're good to go, right? But I'm trying to get you to understand the concept of scaling this business up very quickly, right? Because you're going to get into numbers where you might get self-sabotaging because you're like, wow, this is the most I made monthly in a business. So the rule of thumb with anything, whenever you're launching something new, even this, verify who I am. Make sure I was even a cop. Google me. Make sure I was on CNN, right? But when it comes down to it, you want to prove concept. And how does that work? Well, essentially, you go to a local business. You ask them like, hey, man, why don't you accept crypto payments? And they say, well, I didn't know. No one's talked to me about it. That'd be pretty cool. It's going to cost me anything. So now in your head, you're like, wait a second. That's one business. Then go to another random business. Like, how come you guys don't accept crypto payments? No one's talked to us about it. The next one. Then you're like, wait a second, this makes sense. So we execute, sign up those businesses, get them up and running. And then you want to throw as much manpower on that as possible. In the military, we say this: 2 is 1, 1 is none. And what that means is you always want to have multiple people in a part of your team, obviously backups. But the reason I say this is because ultimately you can profit as much as possible. But what good is it if no one around you is profiting also? And I'm not trying to get philosophical with this, but I truly believe this because, you're only one person away. I was one person away before, got to the next level of business, and I try to bring up everyone around me. So if you're able to prove concept, you sign up some businesses and you say, this works, I need to get people working with me. Bring your family, bring your friends. Don't be shady. There's enough businesses out there. Help them help you, and then you guys will all be able to profit together, right? And then from there, we talk about scaling, right? So when I say scaling, what that means is once you start going from like 5 to 10 businesses that sign up with you, now you're in the double digits. And you're like, all right, well, this works. I really need to get this going because you get this anxiety. You'll get more anxiety then than when you start the business. And the reason why is because ultimately what ends up happening is you're like, it works, but I don't think I'm good enough to scale this thing. And it's counterintuitive because you're like, yeah, I'm 10 businesses up and running. I'm getting residual income. I'm having anxiety. Trust me, you're going to feel like the time and the world is closing in on you and there's not enough time. So we want to focus on efficiency. What's that mean? Well, essentially what I like to do is outsource the lesser activities, right? So, my dad was a janitor, right? There's nothing wrong with being a janitor. But when it comes down to it, maybe you want to outsource cleaning the floors in a business because you can focus on the customer service, the new recipe for your restaurant or whatever. So the same analogy is with this business. What's the needle moving activity? It's signing up as many businesses as possible, but it's not calling them. It's not reaching out to them. It's actually having that conversation and signing them up. So why can't you get somebody to call for you? Why can't you get somebody to find the leads for you, et cetera? Because you can focus on just having that conversation, explaining the value because you're not selling, getting them to sign up and refer you to more and more people. And then lastly is technology. This is slept on. I'm telling you right now, some people think they know this. After spending, I can confidently say a little over $1 million in ads, right? Which is crazy, right? But after spending over $1 million in ads, I realized like that's one of the best technology we have available to us. Think about that for a second. You can literally pay to get in front of somebody. So what I've transitioned to, because I used to be like work hard. The Marine Corps, they teach you just keep doing the same thing over like a donkey, right? I figured like, what are those Air Force guys doing? They're over here relaxed. So it's the same thing with business. Sometimes you want to take a step back and say, if I'm tired, something is wrong. I'm not learning the right way to execute on something. So the way you want to think about this is when we're scaling, yes, we can talk to more businesses. Yes, we can hire more people. But if we can use technology to our advantage, whether it's language learning models, whether it's ChatGPT, ads, whatever it is, take advantage because when it comes down to it, let's be realistic, you only have the same 24 hours. And how you use that time effectively is going to dictate how much money you make in this business. And then lastly, like I mentioned, it's going to be this, building a team. I mentioned, obviously execute, build a team. But the reason I say this, and I've repeated this, is because number one, it's fun. Working around people that you like, it's the best feeling ever. Having a team. It's from the Marine Corps to law enforcement. I've always been in team environments. So it's awesome, especially in person. But the other thing is, again, you're able to empower people and they're able to exponentially increase the size of your business. Think about McDonald's. The owner of like 7 McDonald's is not flipping burgers. He has all these team members around him handling all the stuff and they're able to generate revenue for him. Yes, there's a mutual beneficial relationship. They get salaries, benefits, all that good stuff. But when it comes down to it, this is probably one of the most biggest needle moving activities you can do in this business specifically too. And then of course, like I mentioned, you want to maintain your online presence. So you got to ask yourself this. How many businesses have you been to or looked up before you went there? Basically, any restaurant you go to nowadays, you go on Google Maps first. You look at Yelp, you look at Angie's List for services, but if they're not online, you're like, what the heck's going on? Unless there's a line out the door, which is very rare. So in this space, when you talk to business owners, they're like, who the heck are you? They're going to look you up. And when you have the website, you have the social media profile, et cetera, like, okay, cool, I want to work with that person versus some person I met randomly who I don't even know if they're even a real person, right? So we want to maintain an online presence in this space, especially going into 2026, because what's going to end up happening is you need to have a digital trail. That's what I call it, the digital trail. They need to know you're legitimate. They need to know your history. If I didn't have an online presence from 4 years ago, let's be realistic. You might think I'm a scammer. So when you can backtrack and say, oh, cool, there's a CNN interview, there's this interview, there's this media appearance, there's this podcast he was on, over the course of years, in the age of AI, you know you're legitimate and you have brand reputation. And then from there, of course, once you scale, you want to diversify. And what I mean by that is, as you're generating 3K, 4K, 5K, 6K a month, you know, obviously you can reinvest. You can be, you know, like Stripe, for example, just going all in, or Amazon, Jeff Bezos, like I'm not selling anything, or Mark Zuckerberg. Or let's be realistic. You can say, all right, I'm making 5K a month. Let me pull out $2,000 a month. I'm going to allocate that to this. I'm going to reinvest into some Palantir stocks or some Amazon, whatever it is, but pull the money out as soon as possible and delegate it or diversify it. And the reason why is because ultimately this is a great business, but what's the point of generating revenue if you don't take advantage of it? Again, I know your CPA may not like me. You know, traditional business guys that want to scale and exit out for $100 million may not like it, but let's be realistic. In this space, once you start hitting 2, 3, 4, 5, 10K a month, well, how much time are you going to continue to reinvest versus finally pull it out and profit? So I got a question for you. Who would actually want to see our process? Literally the process that we follow to get this business up and running, right? I don't see any of my team members in here, so I think I can share this. This is something new. Obviously, there's tech difficulties. I'm like, fuck it, let's do this. I want you to comment residual below. Comment residual below, right? So let's do this. Let me see if I can change my share screen to see if this even works, right? So I'm going to do a window screen. Oh, stop screen, share my screen. And then it's going to be entire screen, this one right here. Let's see if this works. Perfect. All right. So this is what I call the residual scaling system. And check this out, guys. So you know I'm actually legit. This is not pre-recorded. I'm going to switch cameras. All right, here we go. Cool. So this is what we're going to call the residual scaling system, guys. It's actually very, very simple, but it's actually, I mean, really exciting, right? So our process is very simple. We have a licensing process that you follow that is worked for thousands of people, right? We call it the residual scaling system. So it's a 3-phase approach. Very, very simple, right? So phase number 1 is actually going to be, we call the business setup, right? The foundation. This is just to get you up and running in this business, all right? It takes about 1 to 5 days, very simple business setup, checking all this good stuff. And then from there, we go into our autonomy phase, which is about 1 to 2 weeks in. And that's when you're actually having these businesses secured. So it's December 9th right now. That means before Christmas, you're up and running with locations, right? That's how standard this is. And then we enter into our scaling phase, which is very fast, but it's about 3 weeks in, 21 days in, right? So let's break down what I call the foundation steps. Very simple. What we do is we get you access to, number 1, our residual scaling system, get a licensing agreement, you get your starter kit, et cetera, right? So you're gonna have a growth chat, a one-on-one growth chat with a 24/7 growth advisor who's experienced, they know the business, et cetera. Because let's be realistic, you're gonna have these questions. And then from there, what ends up happening is you get access to our program. So it covers everything, literally contracts, deal structure, like anything you can think of for the business. Trust, you cannot scoof us. And the reason why I say that is because think about it. Over the course of 4 years in the space, talking to businesses in Canada, talking to businesses in South America, Middle East, like we get a lot of questions. So you're probably actually going to get more questions from the program than you would on your own. So get access to our AI system. And what's that mean? With our experience, we say, you know what? Let's dump all this information into an AI database. So that way you guys get a personalized agent working for you. So if you have a deal you're not sure of, you can ask the questions based on past performing data. And then of course, we focus on simplicity. I was in the Marine Corps. There's a reason why they say, hey, you know, for claymores or explosions, they say front towards enemy. We got to keep things simple, guys. You're busy, you got the kiddos, you got Cheerios all over the place, maybe some investments, you start getting pretty busy, right? So from there, what's what we do is we send you your business starter kit, right? Same thing that's caused success for all these different people, but essentially it covers everything you need, your device, marketing materials, everything you need to get your first few businesses up and running. And that's when you're going to have your growth advisor assessment call. Essentially what that is we're going to figure out, okay, cool. What's your experience? What locations do you have? We're going to figure out what the actual area is, like the marketability, and we're going to figure out the step-by-step process that you need specifically to be successful with this. So then we enter into what I call the autonomy phase, right? This is actually where we're going to have businesses up and running. So we're going to have a location implementation assessment. And what's that mean? We're going to look at your zip code, the types of businesses there. We'll look at all the things that are necessary for you to be up and running. So that we figure out, okay, cool. Yeah, all these other businesses are cool, but for you specifically, you need to do X, Y, and Z because you have an advantage in San Francisco, in North Dakota, whatever, but whatever is necessary for you to be up and running. And then from there, you get access to your revenue monitoring dashboard. What's that mean? It has all the businesses you signed up, their profit, etc., for you to be up and running. So you'll start seeing all the merchants, what's their processing, how much you're going to make for the month, literally remotely anywhere you want to be in the world. But here's the thing. Obviously, we need a push sometimes. So this is where our done for you location finding service comes in. And this is like the game changer. I'm telling you right now. Because what ends up happening is this. Yes, you're going to be successful in the business. Obviously, it's a big blue ocean. But if we take a crawl, walk, run approach, meaning that we start with, hey, this is how you do it. Here's the first few locations. And then let's scale this thing. That's where you find the most success. And it's helped thousands of clients do the same thing. So what we do is we get your zip code. We get your availability. We figure out when you are available, when you're not available, 24/7. And we have our entire call center start looking for you. And what's that look like? Well, we start contacting business in the area. We screen them. We get a hold of the business owner. We get the reason why they want to sign up, get all the details, everything you need to be successful. And we give you a polished, detailed report, almost like a briefing for like a search warrant, right? This comes from like the law enforcement side. It gets me pumped up. But essentially, we give you a data document that breaks down exactly what you needed to do for this business. But that's not it. Essentially, what ends up happening, now you have the business, they're ready to rock. They're like, yo, Chris, let's go. Let's chat. Monday, November 24th at 2 p.m. Awesome. But you're going to have questions. And if you don't, I'll be surprised. You're probably not taking this seriously. So what we do is we have a one-on-one call with you. We say, hey, cool. This is the business. It's a restaurant. They're doing this much. This is what you need to do. They're processing $100,000 a month, which means they're probably doing this and that. These are the questions. Answer this. Sign them up. Get them up and running. So that way you are converting as many businesses as possible. But here's the thing. What could possibly happen? Maybe the owner has purple hair. Maybe you don't like them, whatever. So for any reason, if the business doesn't work out, what we do is replace it. And the reason why is because there's so many options. Who cares? You say, you know what? That guy has a nasty attitude. I don't want to talk to him. Awesome. Let's find your next business, right? So that's on that side. And then from there, we go into what we call our one deal away strategy. So essentially, what's this look like? This was actually from yesterday. We have a one-on-one call, like I mentioned. We break down the details. So what ended up happening here says, hey, you know what? We spoke to the business owner. They're ready to rock. I'm talking to them tomorrow. We're going to sign them up as like a custom wrap business. This is literally yesterday. So I say this because ultimately what ends up happening is with these businesses, what happens? You have questions. The owner has a specific technical integration issue. So you're like, what do I do? That's where you have that one-on-one growth advisor or myself jump in and say, hey, stop. No worries. This is what we're going to do to sign this business up for you, right? So then, of course, you have your businesses up and running. Sounds fun and all that, right? But let's scale, guys. This is where it really gets fun. So we have a few different ways to do this. Number one, like I said, we have our done for you brand build out. So what's that mean? Well, essentially, what ends up happening is we're able to build your website for you. Literally, so you have an online presence just like this. So when merchants reach out, they're like, damn, this looks like legit. I've never heard of you before. So they start signing up on your website for you. That's step number one, which is cool, but let's keep going. What we also have is leads on autopilot, because obviously you have your website. Now we're going to set up your CRM also, your customer relationship management. So what we do is we start finding locations for you. We'll actually have it plugged in. So they start sending them into your database. So literally you wake up and you have 6 emails that say, hey, new lead, new lead, new lead. Jessica from this business is doing $200,000 a month. She's interested. Jeff from North Dakota wants to sign this up. So you start having people reach out to you. And remember what I mentioned about laziness? This isn't laziness. This is what we call efficiency. Because when it comes down to it, if you're not using the online game to your advantage, you're just going to fail. And that's how we get you up and running with that. But again, you sign up a few businesses, you maybe get a little bored because you're at 10 and you're like, hey, I'm doing pretty good. I'm lying on the beach. But this is where we have our continual masterminds and training clinics. We go over everything. I'm talking about industry updates, tactical methods, everything you think of. We have industry experts. Like this is one of a good friend of mine who spends probably like $30,000 a day in advertising. And he broke down exactly what you need to do to run your own ads to sign this up yourself. So you don't need us. Because the whole goal here is that I don't want you relying on me. I'm just selfish. I'm trying to, guys, I love coffee. All I want to do is relax, hang out with my parents, your future wife and the kids, drink some coffee and see all the success. But for that to happen, you know, coming from like a teacher background, right? Especially in like law enforcement, I got to make sure you're successful. So what we do is we give you all the tools. Our success is your success. We're able to literally license them all for you, because when you're able to be successful, let's be realistic. The next person's going to look and say, hey, here's Jessica, here's Sundari, here's whoever. And they're like, well, if they're successful, I'm successful, and more people want to work with us. So we'll have different masterminds going over everything you can think of. Literally every single week is a new topic. So what you do is, because let's be realistic, after a while, you're going to stop responding to us. You just know, hey, every week, just like a TV episode, there's a new mastermind. I'm going to tune in. I'm going to learn something new. I'm going to sign up a few more businesses. I'm going to keep scaling my business. And this is lifetime. So you'll see all the different things we train. So obviously you're up and running. We're at double-digit locations. But here's the other thing. You get access to our revenue multiplier system. And this is how this works. Very simple. Number one, we have what we call our skeleton location network. It's very simple. All these businesses reach out to us, but it costs so much to have teams on retainer to get them to sign up. What we do is we just drip. We drip. It's like dividends. It keeps going to everyone in the areas. So I get somebody in North Dakota that says, hey, you know, I'm interested in the business. Can somebody talk to me? I literally don't have anybody. I literally don't have anybody to talk to them. So what I say is, hey, Chris, George, whatever, in North Dakota or in the region, can you talk to this business? They're interested. This is who they are. Here's their email, their phone number. They want more info to sign up. We just don't have anybody to talk to them. So you get access to our skeleton location network. And what that means is, come Friday night, hey, who's in this area? Can somebody sign this business up? Hey, who's in South America? Can you sign this business up? Hey, who's in New York? Can you talk to these 7 businesses that want to sign up? So you're consistently getting more and more businesses fed to you on autopilot. But here's the game changer. This is the thing that really gets exciting to me. So obviously they accept credit cards, right? So the way you want to look at this is that's an opportunity too. So when you sign them up, we will get them signed up for the credit cards after too. So here's the significance of this. No one really pays attention. You talk to a business owner, you say, hey man, yeah, you should accept crypto payments. Awesome. And 2 months later, you reach out and say, hey, why don't we just combine everything into one? We are the only ones available to do this. Literally, it took months and months and months. And obviously, I've been in the crypto space for over a decade, right? I'm a freaking geek. I love crypto. So when this opportunity presented itself, I went all in. So essentially, we are able to combine their crypto payments and their traditional payments so you can double dip. So now you're getting crypto payments, now you're getting the residuals on the traditional payments, and you're able to get this thing up and running. It's absolutely phenomenal, guys. So here's the thing, right? Let's go ahead and switch the camera. Here's the thing, and I got a question for you guys, right? Because obviously you know how this works. Actually, pretty simple process. Obviously, it's been the same thing that's gotten a lot of people to be able to get this business up and running. So naturally, the question you got to ask yourself is it even the right time for you, right? So when it comes down to it, I got a question for you, right? Obviously, this is the same model that I used to help thousands of people be up and running. Very simple. Obviously, it's the same model that's helped me quit my 9-to-5. It was doing over $200,000 a year. Same model that'll help build thousands of new businesses in 2026. I'm super excited. But what could potentially be the case? Maybe you're on the fence, which is okay. It's totally okay. Maybe it's the first time you've seen this, etc. Not a big deal. You can always wait until 2026. This is going to be around. I'm telling you, it's going to grow bigger and bigger. It's like Amazon. Knowing about Amazon 15 years ago, right? You say, don't worry about it. Do it in 2025. However, here's the thing. There's going to be more success. There's going to be more quote unquote proof. This is going to be around. But it comes down to how much of the opportunity is there going to be in the future? Will there be some? Yes, but how much left? So if you want to get a head start, you're like, hey, you know what? This makes sense for you. What we can do is this. We actually have one-on-one consultations, about 30-ish to like 45 minutes. And what we're going to do is break down specifically the game plan. Like, hey, you're in San Francisco, you're in New York City, you're in LA. This is going to be your game plan to be up and running. These are the options for you. If you're interested in like, hey, you know what, this makes sense, I want to take advantage, I want to actually figure out what this is going to look like for me, what I want you to do is comment freedom. And you're going to be given the opportunity to speak with one of our managing consultants. I put a special calendar just for tonight because we've been backed up. If you see our calendar, it's like completely backed up. And you can actually reach out to one of them. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to drop the link here so you guys can take advantage. You can click the link below, take advantage. And again, one of our team members will jump on a call with you. They're going to break down specifically what this looks like for you. Super simple, exactly like, hey, you know what? This makes sense. Obviously, this is what you do step by step. And then they are going to walk you through being up and running with this business. So what you can do, because I just put an expiration on that link because it overrides our normal calendar that's completely backed. You can lock in a time that works for you. It might be with myself. I may need to open it up because we're backed up. Again, one of our team members will be able to break down the business for you, break down how we do things. If it makes sense, awesome. If not, not a big deal because you're going to have more clarity. But either way, you're going to be able to hit 2025 with a bang. And then the last thing that's like really exciting is the fact that 2025 is ending. I don't know if you guys know about taxes, but anything you spend right now, you can write off onto your 2026 taxes because come March, April, you're no taxes. So if you make, say, $100,000 a year, and let's just say you write off $10,000 investing into like building the business, right? All of a sudden, you just lowered your income down to 90. So you realize like, wait a second, do I want Uncle Sam to keep my money or do I want to keep it myself? And you got to ask yourself, hey, it's your choice. But essentially, you're given the opportunity to at least get more info, decide if this is the business for you, decide if you think, hey, legitimately, I'm going to be successful with this, and take a step towards that future self. So with that being said, that's all I got today for today's live training. If you enjoyed it, drop a comment, send me a message, send me an email. You know, I'm always open to actually entertain more questions or even just some comments of what you want to learn, essentially. But until then, what we're going to do is we're going to meet up again next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Actually, I'll send the email on time. There's like some technical difficulties. And we'll work on getting you up and running with your digital payment business, guys. Right? My name is Gam Tekla, founder of Dividend Shift. Good having you here on this live training. And I'm super excited to see you actually build this business. Take care.